I want to welcome everybody to the Culinary Literacy Program sponsored by the Ruth Keeler Memorial Library. I'm Chef Debbie Rizzo, and I want to hopefully share a lot of my tips and techniques for different things. We're going to do a Vietnamese rice-style noodle salad. And just to let you know, we're going to be recording. So if you do not want your voice recorded or something like that, no worries, they're pretty much recording me. If you have any questions, you can send them in on the chat and we will do our best to try to answer them. Okay? So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna tackle this in like 3 different segments, maybe 4. We're gonna start off with the noodles because they take a little while to cook. Now you can choose 2 different things to do with your noodles. I've purchased these and they actually say Thai, but they're different kinds, but this is rice noodles. I prefer to buy the ones that are a little bit wider than this, and I'll turn the package around so you can, well, maybe a close-up there. A little bit wider than that, but these are the only ones I was able to find, but they'll work, okay? Now, these rice noodles can be cooked per the package instructions, or you can do what I call is the soaking method, which I learned in cooking school, which helps because sometimes it's a little hard. You may go a little, literally 30 seconds too long on rice noodles when you're cooking them in a boiling method, and then they become very slimy. So I don't like that in my salads or my dishes. So what I try to do is do the soaking method, which is you bring a pot of water like this up to boil. I'm gonna put it on medium high. I have it a little bit going already. You do your pot pinch. Remember, your pot pinch is not 2 fingers, but like a whole grab here of salt up here. So you do 1 pot pinch, 2 pot pinch, and that will be enough salt. Okay, just to add a little flavor. That's going to come up to boil, and because I have an induction burner, it's going to come up a lot faster to boil than yours is, okay? So once it comes up to a boil, we're going to add our noodles, give it a good stir, and I've already measured out 8 ounces of rice noodles. Right here, they're already measured out. So they're a little thinner than I like. I might make them a little thicker. And then when you're done adding the noodles in here, even though it's at a boil, you're gonna shut the heat off and just don't cover it, nothing. After we stir it, we're gonna leave it like that, okay? So we're still gonna let that come up to a little bit of a boil. And then it's gonna soak in there. And we're gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. So it's almost there. I'm just gonna give it a stir to dissolve the salt. Okay. And again, if you're not sure you've added enough salt, you can always taste your water a little bit. It should taste pretty much close to like sea salt. You know, a little less, a little more. Some people are maybe a little concerned about their salt intake, but don't worry. You just want to have some flavor. And I'm going to do a little taste here so that your noodles have a little flavor to them, not bland. Hello? Mine definitely has enough salt. All right, we're almost there. One person texted me earlier. They found a package of rice noodles and I think they were almost pre-cooked. So they were already in the wet phase. I just mentioned to them to follow the packaging for really warming, but cool them with cold water, which we're gonna do after this is soak for 10 minutes. And then toss a little bit of sesame oil so they don't stick. And then just hold, okay? But the trick is also draining them very well. Okay, we are almost up to a boil. Almost there, it's getting there. All right, we got bubbles. All right, so we have bubbles, we're boiling, and we are going to add it, stir it, and then turn it off. Here we go. All in there. Lose them. I don't like to crack them in half because I want them long for our salad. So they've gone in. A good stir. Going. And then we're going to turn this off. Okay, now they are going to soak. Set our timer for 10 minutes. And just to double check, it's 3:04. So, you know, sometimes my timers have a mind of their own. So I'll keep track of that. So we're good there, all right? All right. So now we're gonna move on this way. And we're gonna talk about ginger because it's part of our recipe for our dressing, which I'm also gonna use as a marinade for my beef skewers. So this is a food item that you'll be able to use for multiple things, even a sauce if you wanted to. So when you're purchasing ginger, fresh ginger, should I say, looks like this. It's sort of like a root, okay? It has a tough skin on the outside and is very fibrous on the inside. You want to pick your ginger where it's not wrinkled. So it's a very smooth texture, you can see. And it's not wrinkled, okay? And it doesn't have a foul smell. This one just smells kind of earthy, which I like, okay? We only need a tablespoon, so I'm not going to show you how to chop all of this, but I'm going to cut a big enough portion to show you the easiest way to do this without creating a disaster, okay? So I'm going to come down here to the cutting board. I'm going to take off like a thumb's worth, basically, of it, which is a good indication for about a tablespoon. That's what I learned in cooking school. So we're going to take that. I've cut it. You check the inside, make sure it's not like slimy or, you know, wrinkled as well. And you're going to cut the other end off. When you cut a flat end, it gives you a better surface to be able to work with where it's not falling over, okay? You want to peel it. So you peel your knife, the outside. Get it all off there because the skin is not really edible, okay? You can smell it. So good. It's fresh. If it has a sour kind of smell to it, you may have bought you a piece that's not so great. And for most of my friends that have cooked with me before, they know that in the pinch, and I always keep it in my refrigerator, I have the squeezed ginger that you can purchase almost like a paste. It works just as well. But, you know, especially because, you know, we make a lot of Asian food, so I keep the squeeze bottle. But I want to show you with fresh, this is really good. So you take it. It's got a lot of fibers in there. You can't see it right now, but as I start to slice it, I'll show you a coin first. It's very fibrous. So you see those fibers in there? I'll turn it to the side a little bit if you can see it. Right there? Okay. So you see those fibers. So when you're cutting that, you're going to have some problems. So what we try to do is we make circles of it. Let's do like that many. And then I take those, and instead of just chopping, you're going to have a really hard time because of the fibers. So it is literally just best to start making small little lines like this.
Can you recommend a knife?
A knife. Because of the fibers, I use a serrated knife. This is a Wusthof, which is a really good brand. I bought this at Williams-Sonoma, and I've had this probably for 15 years. And I know once when we were younger, my daughter dropped it and the tip broke off. And they guarantee it. I literally went back to Williams-Sonoma's. They replaced it with no questions asked, no receipt or anything, because it's a really good knife, and I have 2 of them. Okay, so then I take the lines and I go across them, just really slow like this. Now for my other knives, I have Globals, which is a Japanese brand, and they're very sharp, and we're going to use that when we do our radishes in a little bit. So that's kind of like the easiest way to make little bitty pieces. Now if you want to come across and do some more like this, or get your big knife and you know, chop it up into smaller pieces, you can. And at this point, if you want to make it finer and put it in a food processor, you need to make it this small before you put it in a food processor. If you put it in the food processor, a piece like this, it is just going to make a big, literally like a hairball. That's what will happen to it. You have to first break it down into small pieces. And this is why it's a lot of work, I guess you can say. It's great, but the liquid ginger or the squeezed ginger works just as well. So if anybody's out there, my friends that have cooked with me before, and you're going to use that, no worries. Okay? So you just keep going and going and going, making it smaller and smaller depending on what your taste is. Because ginger is pretty potent, you do want to make it pretty small, okay? All right, now I'm just going to put this in this little bowl here because I've already pre-measured for our recipe earlier. But I just wanted to show you because those are some of the pitfalls with ginger, and a lot of recipes just don't tell you that, and they set you up for failure. So with ginger, you have to remember that, all right? Now, ginger, you don't want to pre-cut like this and leave it for a long time unless you put a wet paper towel on top of it with plastic, because it will oxidize, okay? So just know that when you store your ginger, it needs to be an airtight container. All right, so we took care of ginger. Now we're gonna work, while we're waiting for our noodles, we're gonna work on our dressing or our marinade. So you wanna take a glass bowl, which you know I'm very fond of when I'm making my marinades and my dressings and stuff, because we're working with lime juice, which is acidic, okay? Sometimes when using the metal bowl, I will use it when I'm tossing it, but as far as making it, I wanna use a glass bowl or plastic, okay? So it won't pick up the metallic taste from the bowl. So I have lime juice. It says I had a half cup, but if you've squeezed your 2 limes, that should be plenty, okay? So So we're gonna take our lime juice, pour it in, fresh squeeze, pulp and all, whatever you got, it'll be good, okay? Any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay, great. So we have that in there. I know it calls for sesame oil somewhere in the middle. Save your sesame oil on the side. We're gonna incorporate it in to make an emulsion, okay? So we have that. Fish sauce. This is the brand of fish sauce that I'm using today. Again, it's a Thai brand. It is quite potent, pungent, whatever word you want to use. It smells, okay? Not necessarily like fish, just it has a very strong, deep, earthy smell to it. But don't let that put you off. It really gives an amazing taste to recipes, okay? So this is fish sauce. Don't take a big smell of it. I have 1 tablespoon of it. Some people that really love it use 2 tablespoons, but I would not advise it for your first time. Okay, so there it is. It's in there. We're going to add our 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar. And we're going to get it in there so it starts to dissolve. Now, with Asian flavors and Asian recipes, they are really big on a balance of flavors or adding different flavors. You're rarely going to find Asian dishes, no matter what it is, Vietnamese, Thai, Chinese, Japanese, that has 1 flavor. They really strive to have 2 to 3 flavors in each dish. Sweet and sour, spicy and sour, sweet and salty. So that's what this flavor is going to have. It's going to have a punch of a little sweetness. It's going to have saltiness. And then I'm going to add some heat to it as well. This is our 1 tablespoon of ginger. Adding that to that. I got our garlic. We got 2 tablespoons of garlic. That. Garlic, I already pre-minced it, but if you have the squeeze one, you can do that as well, okay? And we have now the red pepper flakes. Now, I'm going to push this to the front. What does it mean? Oh. Put that to the front. And before I start to chop up my red pepper flakes, I want to take a look at let's come over here and take a look at the noodles. Do you see how they're starting to change color? They're getting like white. So I'm going to give them another stir. They're doing really good. All right. Just want to show you what that starts to look like. They were clear before. Now they're getting white. I'm going to come back this way. You can use like Thai chili peppers. I just like to use red pepper flakes because this is what I have at home most of the time. And if you like the heat, this is the heat. Okay. That's 1/2 of a teaspoon. I have a little tendency not to like too much heat. But if you like heat, put the whole 1/2. I am going to put about 1/4 in there. And you do want to chop up because it gets them like activated again once you chop it one more time because the pepper flakes are dry. So just a little chopping. This is my global knife since you asked about a brand. And then you just take that right in there. That going. That. And then we have let's see here. We have our cilantro. Add the sesame oil at the very end. Cilantro, which has been pre-rinsed. This is about right, which is about, like I can say, about a handful there. And that should make enough. Now, through our previous lessons, you remember, we take it, we roll it, we tighten it up. Try to find a spot over here. And we just make small little flakes. As close as you can to your finger without cutting your finger off, okay? You start to lose the grip, you tighten it again. Remember what I said about overcutting cilantro, it'll turn black. So doing it this way and then coming back across it is probably your best way you can do it for any kind of salad or dressing. All right, so that's pretty good. That's all we need. And most Asian recipes, you can use the stems, okay? I'm gonna stop for just a minute, take a look at our noodles. Are we at 10 minutes? Yes. There we go, right on time. So let's take a look at our noodles. They're white, they're not slimy. I'm gonna take one out, let's take a look at it. See, it doesn't have extra slime. Now, I'm gonna take a taste. Perfect, it's al dente. It's not where it's falling apart, as you can see, like that. Now, I'm gonna hand this off to an assistant. They're gonna take it to the sink as I'm cooking in the table. They're gonna drain it in your colander. So this is what you should do. Drain it in your colander. Let it drain pretty good for at least a couple of minutes. And then they're going to bring it back to me. I'm going to show where you just do a little quick like tablespoon of sesame oil. and that's gonna keep it from sticking because they are starchy, okay? So that's gonna go away for a little bit. We're gonna come back here, and I'll show you how to toss it up with the sesame oil in just a minute. We're back to our cilantro. I'm gonna come back and you're gonna go across it 5 or 6 times like this way. And that should be pretty good. Pieces, and we're gonna take it. It's gonna go right in there. Cilantro is an herb that is used just, you know,
Rinse the noodles.
rinse the noodles in cool water so that you stop the cooking process. Because like I said, it's just a matter of time where it will go beyond what you want it to go. It will be slimy, okay? So we're gonna take this, we're gonna mix it all together. And then we're gonna slowly drizzle in our sesame oil to create like an emulsion, okay? We have our sesame oil. Open it up here. That's the 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. Slowly drizzle it in there. Oh, it smells so good. All right. Now you want this to sit for like at least 10 minutes before you actually use it. And you know, you can make it the day before if you want to, okay? So while we cut all of our vegetables up for our salad, we're gonna let this marinate, okay? I'm gonna actually transfer it over to a smaller bowl to give me some room. You can leave it in your big bowl if you want to. And when we use this for the salad, you don't have to use all of it. So it's per taste, okay? So I probably will show you how much I'm gonna use to toss the salad up, and I'm gonna save a little bit because I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna put it on top of the fish. I pre-made another one earlier to show you what I did with the beef because this is gonna be a marinade for beef as well. So we're just gonna set that to the side for a minute and get my area a little quick little wipe. There's nothing bad on here because everything's gonna end up back on the same salad. Just so you can see a little better, okay? All right. Okay, so our noodles are back. So here we go. So these are our noodles. You see them? Quite a bit. Shake them around a little bit. If you don't, they've been cool. So they're very cold now. So they're cool, they're drained. But if you don't put a little bit of something on them, oil, then they will tendency to stick by the time you get your vegetables on them. So we have a little bit of the sesame oil. It doesn't have to be a lot because you don't want to overpower. Just give it a little bit. Ooh, that was a big amount. Oh, the top fell on there.
No, it doesn't have that.
Oh, thank. Okay, it'll be fine. All right. So I'm gonna just give it a toss with my hand so you can see. Actually, it looked like it was more than it was. Okay, so like about a tablespoon. All right, doesn't require much. Now you're gonna feel that they move real easily. See, they're not sticking to each other. So when we do the tossing up with the vegetables and the all that, they're gonna easily be able to toss in the salad bowl. So we're gonna just leave them in here like this and put a paper towel on them so they stay moist. And anybody have a question?
Someone said dressing is like Asian pesto. Cilantro and herb usually used in Asian cooking.
Asian, as far as cilantro, I found in my days of cooking that I was very surprised growing up, because I'm Hispanic, growing up eating cilantros like almost every day. I thought that my culture was the only culture that lived on cilantro, but I was very wrong. After I went to cooking school and started to learn about Asian cooking, I realized how many other cultures use cilantro. Indian, almost every Asian culture, I mean, Vietnamese, Thai, use amazing amount of cilantro, as well as basil, but mostly cilantro. So it's very versatile herb, okay? So I'm glad someone asked about that, but it's my favorite herb. Okay, so we now have our noodles cooled and oiled. We have our dressing, our vinegar is here, soaking as well for 10 minutes. And now we're gonna move on to vegetables. I am going to start with the radishes, just because I need to get this little machine out of the way to make some room. I have a mandolin. If you don't have a mandolin, it is okay, because it's tricky. It can be dangerous. But if you do have one, and it can be a little plastic one, this one's just really complicated, it's a little French one. it makes cutting things thinner easier and more uniform. I am going to show you cutting it with a mandolin, and then I'll show you with cutting it with a knife. So let's get this so we can get this machine out of the way. So, you know, we want our pieces to be about this thick, okay? They could be thinner. I'm not a big fan of radish, I'm going to tell you the truth, but with this recipe, it only adds color, it adds crunch, and it adds a little heat too. If you want to omit the radish, go right ahead. If you want to shred it in a grater, go ahead. It's up to you. It just looks really pretty when the vegetables are cut in different ways. So I take my radish, and then I'm going to slice it on the mandolin. Okay? Maybe I'll try with one of these. Okay, here we go. You're going to cut your end off first. Let me slide over here. Cut your end off first. That's where the check it. All right, and then you're going to slice. We're going to go slow, and the whole time I'm doing my mandolin, I always say, the mandolin's my friend, the mandolin's my friend. And you turn it. You don't stay in one direction. This way, you know, your slices, which I'll show you, they're under here. They're coming out nice. You want them to be almost transparent, okay? That's got a piece of cilantro, like that, all right? A little flexible. Keep that straight there, producer. All right, so we're gonna keep doing these, and then I'll show you how I cut with a knife for those people who have a knife. So I just keep going and turning. Again, it helps when you do this with the gloves, because if you do get really close, the first thing it's gonna nick is the glove. And that's where I'm gonna stop, because I wanna be safe. Gotta do one more, cut my end off. Right. Take all these, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start adding all my vegetables to a second bowl, right in here. Okay. All right, here's my second one. Yeah, mandolin's my friend. Some people have these from the Magic Chef, or there's another brand that sells it. Pampered Chef, that's what it is. Pampered Chef. People always tell me they ended up one of these because they wanted a Pampered Chef thing. I put those in there, nice and pretty. All right. Now I'm going to show you, take my mandolin away, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to finish off this one here. So I have my global knife, which is very sharp, and you just go really slow. The same thing. If you want to turn it around, turn it around. You feel like a little safer with your fingers, but you got to go real slow. So it's, if you feel like this is too much work, you can buy them pre-sliced in some places, and some places I've seen, you know, they sell them shredded, but you can always use your cheese grater, and then you can basically just grate them, and that'll be fine too. The same thing with the carrots, but I like to do all the vegetables in the salad in different cuts, so they look really pretty when it's tossed together. So those are my radishes. All right. Now we're going to talk about the Savoy cabbage. You can use Savoy cabbage, you can use bok choy, you could use Napa cabbage. I happen to be, this is the only cabbage I could find yesterday, and it's Savoy cabbage. I have a whole head purchased, and I cut it in half, all right? Now, I rinse the outside, but then sometimes you don't know about the inside leaves. So this is what I do. I slice it down the middle first, and then we're gonna deal with this inside here. I take the knife, I make a V cut. Just like that, okay? That's gonna help the leaves come off much easier, okay? So I start to take off the leaves. And the reason I do it like that is because we're gonna, well, mine, I already have some that are pre-rinsed, but they make them easier to rinse when I stack them like this. And then I'm gonna show you how to take the veins out of the middle of them, and then we're gonna roll them, and we're gonna call chiffonade, which is a French word to say basically shred. When it gets down to this part, no, wait, we don't need that, okay? So I'm going to put these to the side, and I already have the ones that I've rinsed here already, and these are the ones we're going to use for the salad. I have even used iceberg lettuce when I was in a pinch one time, okay? So the pieces that are like this, that don't have a, what they call like a middle center, like the vein into it, you can put those pieces to the side because they're already ready to go. So I kind of pick through these, and anything that I see that has a great big vein, we're going to deal with. This one's good. This is all good, ready to go, and we're gonna roll these in just a minute. So I stack them like that because it's gonna help with my shredding. So I'm gonna do an example of this one because it's probably the biggest one. You see the main vein like that in there? I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna take my knife, and I'm going to cut it out because it doesn't, it's a tough enough, it has enough veins in there that has enough texture. We don't need any more, thick pieces in there. So the same thing, cut that out. There. And again, I've already rinsed these, so you can either rinse them after or before. I prefer to do mine before.
Hello?
Any question, anybody?
No, they're answering the phone.
Oh, sorry, okay. Yeah. And we got one more. Okay. If anybody needs me to slow down while they do their cutting, let me know. I know a few people are cooking with me today. I'm going to make some space here. So after we've stacked, I'll take this little stack first.
All's Aaron Chick? It might just be under Aaron Chick, though.
If everyone could please put themselves on mute.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anybody on mute? Okay. All right. So I have my little stack here. You can make it a little smaller if you want to. And you take it like that. You try to flatten it a little bit. You're going to roll it. Kind of think about like a taco or a burrito like that. You're going to take it and you're going to start making slices.
Jen said that her Napa cabbage has spots. Is it dirt or just spots?
It's like black specks in it, probably. It might just be, I think it might be okay, but I mean, if you want to cut around it, I would probably advise to do that. If not sure, don't add it in now, and we can discuss later. And you can show me a virtual picture of it, and then I'll tell you later on to add it. It won't be too late to add it afterwards. If
The
you want.
screen's right there.
Okay, let me take a look in the screen.
No, she's
Okay, all right. I would just wait, and then you consult with me afterwards. You could always add something else, or I can tell you later. So just watch how I'm shredding it, so that when later on, see how it looks real pretty. It almost looks like ribbons. We have nice like chiffonade. See how that is? It's pretty. Shake it up a little bit. And then we're going to toss it in our bowl with vegetables. There. And then we're going to make another pile. So just easy big pieces are here. I'll save these little small ones here. Maybe if Jen, you can pick through some of the ones that you think that you can use. And you just tight roll it. Get there, and then we're going to start cutting. I have one little like spot in there, but it was just a piece of dried leaf. Look at that. Shred it up like that.
It's little specks all over. I think it's just in the leaves.
Okay, it might just be, it's just in the leaves.
It made Napa cabbage?
You have Napa cabbage. Yeah, yours has a thicker white in the middle, and usually you cut out that white vein in the middle. If your leaves are having it, I would just say wait. I would hate for you to ruin the rest of your dish because of that. And if you have any other kind of lettuce at home, you could always substitute that for that. Yeah, but try soaking and rinsing it first, but it may take you longer to deal with than you want to. Just depends. But if, even at the very end of this, if you want to do it at the very end, you can always add it later before you eat it. Okay, I'm doing that really tight again. We're gonna do it again. I used about a half a head, just plenty. But once you make this, you'll know what you want to add more of and what you want to add less of. That's kind of one of the reasons I like to make the radishes in big circles, because if myself or someone else eating it doesn't like it, they can always, it's big enough where they can pull a radish out of it. There you go, nice and chiffonaded. Here. And the reason I like to add also the Savoy cabbage, because it has kind of a complex color combination of light to green. So it almost looks like you have two different salads in there. Toss it up. So far we have our radishes in that. Now we're going to add.
Would you recommend using rice instead of noodles?
You can use rice, but not in this particular recipe.
What type of rice?
Jasmine rice, I find, especially with Asian recipes, is the best to use. If it's going to be Indian, like an Indian type of recipe, I would go with basmati. which next week we'll be doing basmati. You cook it the same way, but when we make our coconut curry next week, we'll be using basmati rice instead of jasmine. So we have that so far. We're gonna now work on our carrots. You can buy these shredded ones if you wanted. You can shred them yourself in a grater as well. But whatever makes you comfortable, easy, faster. I bought some long ones to show you how I like to make ribbons. Once again, to make different, cuts to where it looks so pretty. So I tend to use a paper towel to kind of keep this from sliding as much. And I have already peeled it. And we're gonna make some ribbons in there. So you take it and you angle it. Sometimes it's best to use this part, the bigger part down, and I just start making ribbons. And I turn it, just keep going. And again, if you don't, feel comfortable with a peeler, you can use your box grater for your, maybe to grate cheese, and you can use that and just make some shredded ones. Some people already buy the pre-shredded carrots for their salads for work or whatever. You can use that as well. So whatever makes it easier for you, it's the way to go. You want the ribbons to have a little meat on them. You want it to chew thin, so that you can actually see them in the salad. So we're going to add that to our salad here. We're going to do some more. The towel keeps the carrot from sliding off, and going into a really dangerous situation. You just keep turning it. Once you get to the inside of the carrot, it's a little difficult because the inside of a carrot is actually harder than the outside. That's why a lot of people use baby carrots to eat, because the core is very tough. So most of the time when I make my ribbons, I stop at a certain point and just start with another carrot, flip it around and get the end here. I don't want my ribbons to be too tough. Okay. My ribbons there. And we're going to toss again here. Tossing. And eventually I'm going to go in the big one, in the big salad bowl in a minute, but they've got two. So we have circles, we have chiffonades, and we have ribbons so far. Next, we're going to add our diced cucumbers. Now, for those of you who didn't watch last week or remember the rest, so if you're using your garden cucumber, remember we discussed how sometimes the cucumbers can have a bit of a strong, bitter flavor to it. I don't particularly like that. That's one of the reasons I use Euro cucumbers. But if I get some from my friends or from the gardens, I always make sure, and I'll do it this just to show you, I always make sure I cut it down the middle, and I always rub it together vigorously. If you have a garden one, it'll happen really fast because it'll have tons and tons of like foam coming out of it, like a white, I don't know what you want to say, it's just have a liquid or whatever. So you just keep rubbing it like that, and you'll almost be able to smell it. This is not going to make as much as you do for a regular garden one, because a Euro cucumber is a lot different. So you'll see a little bit of the white here, but if you're doing a garden one, it'll be like lots of white, almost like milk or waxy. It's very, very strange. So you'll take that, and then you're going to give it a wipe or a rinse, whichever you prefer. And I just wanted to demo that again in case somebody missed that last week, because I don't like it to have a bitter flavor. You can choose whether to peel your cucumber or not. Most of the time, if I'm making this for a party, I don't peel it because I want the cucumber to be a little more stable. On the other hand, if you don't like the peel or it's hard for you to digest, then go ahead and peel it. Today, I'm not going to peel it, just so I like to see the different colors in here. So like we did last week, we cut it in fours, but around the seeds, it saves time. Like this, and I'll do the other one the other way. Like that. And you don't want to have all the seeds in there because it makes the salad too wet. Okay? So you take that, and then you want to do some slices. You want to keep them kind of small diced. So try to keep your cuts the same because this is a really pretty salad. All right? That. All right, and then I'm going to cut here, and I'll put a little demo piece aside. So again, you want to keep your pieces about this size right there. So that's your pieces like that, and I want to demo that cut. So that's just a regular, just a cube, you know, cut like that. And I actually am going to put those in there, but I'm going to show you I could do a diamond cut is what I call it. I take the same strips and I go at a diagonal. So start here and then I go at a diagonal. And this way the cut's a little bit different. And this is like kind of like a diamond cut, so they look really pretty in there too. For my sake, I'm going to throw them both in there, but you can pick whichever one you want to go, a diamond or a square, up to you. Okay. Since I'm using a Euro cucumber, I only need half, but if you have a regular sized cucumber, then you just do the whole thing, okay? So we're almost ready to toss all our stuff in there. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in the mint, and it's optional to add the nuts. I know some people have allergies or whatever. I happen to have cashews. They don't have to be salted, but if they do, that's great. I've already rinsed and I've pulled off most of my mint leaves here. So this recipe is really easy because all you have to do is just kind of get a good bunch together, and you want to basically not chop them because nobody wants to eat a big leaf like this, right? So you want to take them and you want to basically tear them. So you take them and you just kind of start making little bitty pieces. They don't have to be giant and they don't have to be tiny either. Just, big enough to where you're releasing the oil in the mint, okay? Tear it like that. So take these. So this way you're going to have some cilantro in there, but once again, like I said, with Asian flavors, they're mixing it up with the flavors. You're going to have the cilantro, you're going to have, the saltiness of the fish sauce, and you have this mintiness, which is really good. So yes, again, you're going to tear them like this. Here. And then we're going to get our big bowl of noodles back because we're going to do the tossing. All right, and that's about all I'm going to put in there. Okay, so that's plenty. So we have that. Now this has been soaking, I'm pretty sure, for over 10 minutes. So if you want to take a spoon and just take a little tiny taste just so you know what you've mixed, okay? The taste profile. So this is this one. So I just tasted it. I have a little heat. I have a little sweet. I have a little, kind of a little like sour, but not much. And this is the kick of the heat is the very end, which I love. So that's really good. And then you got the sour from the lime. That one, we're going to put that to the side. Now, I would like to pre-toss this right now, but since I'm going to make the beef and the fish, I want to make that first. Then I'm going to show you how we're tossing everything in together, and then this way it won't get all wilty and everything. Okay? So we're going to set these things to the side, and I didn't add the nuts in until the very end. So you can decide to do that. So we're going to move all this stuff to the side. Hold out there because then we're going to start doing the fish first. Now, depending on what fish you purchase, you can decide because it's very versatile, marinator sauce, so it kind of goes with almost any fish, okay? I decided to purchase tilapia. I like flounder as well, I like sole, I like cod. This was just a thin enough piece where I didn't have to throw it in the oven for you. I did have a few people say they had salmon, and that's great too. It will work just fine. You just may have to finish it off instead of in the pan completely cooking it. Maybe go ahead and put your oven on to 400. And when I say finish it off in the oven, you pop the whole pan in the oven uncovered for like 7 to 10 minutes. If you see white squishing out of the salmon, you've gone too far. If you want to put a thermometer in that, you might want to bring it up to a temperature of 110, 120 should be fine. Now this is my fish. When you go to buy your fish, you want it to smell like the sea. You don't want it to smell like dead fish. There is a difference between a seafood. Dead fish, the ocean, completely different. So any good fishmonger will let you smell the fish. If they don't, you're probably shopping in the wrong place. You smell your fish, it smells great. When I bring it home, I always either transfer it over into a Ziploc airtight bag and I place it on top of ice, just like this. So it was in this Ziploc, I put it on ice, and then I either cover it so that the smell doesn't go with the rest of the house into the refrigerator. So this is what I do. You always want to keep your seafood on ice. Your refrigerator will never be cold enough to keep your fish fresh for more than like a day, honestly. So if you want it super fresh, I bought this on, what's today? Monday?
19.
It smells just as fresh as when I bought it because I kept it on ice, okay? Even if it's just for one day, put it on ice. Be safe. Seafood is just so expensive. Okay, so this is my tilapia, all right? If you have some paper towels handy, I always dry my fish off really good. I always get a little bit of all-purpose flour. You can do a tray, you can do a plate. I just put a plate here. Putting a little purpose flour, maybe like 2 or 3 tablespoons of flour, depending on how much you're making. And I am going to put my pan on over here. So I have a nonstick pan. You can use a iron skillet. I'm just limited because with this cooking unit, I have to use this particular pan. All right, I have it on low, and I'm gonna let that get warm while I get my fish ready, okay?
Is the flour for any type of fish?
The flour can be for any type of fish. If you are gluten intolerant, then you can use cornstarch. That's an alternative, okay? Because we're not actually gonna bread it. We're gonna give it a light dusting to where it forms a nice golden little crust. That's our hope. Let's hope that happens here today. So we're drying your fish first, okay? So we're dry it. We're gonna season it. Have a little pepper.
Should I take the skin off the salmon first?
I would say so, but you don't have to, because if you're cooking it the other side, you can cook it with the skin on and remove it after you're done cooking it. Because you would only need to cook the salmon on the side. It doesn't have the skin, okay? And that does tend to add flavor when you leave that skin on the other side. And it keeps it from curling. So a little salt, flip it over, just a little bit, like that. And I also season my flour. So show right here, just a little bit in the flour, just a little bit, okay? So we have our flour. Before we get the flour going, because as soon as this gets ready to go, your pan needs to be ready. So come back this way. We're gonna do the oil. It's a dry cooking method, so you don't need that much oil. So I use the 1-2 method. 1, 2, and then I see if it covers the bottom of the pan. I start there, and I say, I think it needs a little bit more. Like that. And then we're gonna let that heat up some more. Gonna put it up to medium high, because we want this to be pretty hot, okay? But we don't want it smoking where the fish burns, but we want it hot. You keep an eye on your oil, because your oil is gonna make some ripples, and that lets you know that it's heating up and it's almost ready. I use an olive oil. Some people might wanna use a canola oil, but I would not cook like with the peanut oil or anything like that. You want something that has a very high cooking, smoking point, so that it doesn't burn the pan, the oil, or your fish, okay? I like to use something mild because we're dealing with a lot of flavors with the marinade, to where you don't want it to overpower with the peanut oil, okay? It's coming up to a ripple, so I'm gonna start working on my fish. Back this way. All right, we have the fish. It's nice and dry. I'm going to lay it in here, shake it around, lay it in here, shake it around. Just a light dusting, okay? Cover it pretty good.
The sound is low.
What's up? The sound?
Our sound is low.
Oh, you need to make the volume higher?
That doesn't change it, Mom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking as loud as I can. This thing doesn't make noise. You see how I'm just shaking it back and forth? It's just a light dusting, okay? You don't want it clumped up. And that's why if you don't dry it, you're going to have all these clumps of wet flour. That's not what the purpose is. So we're shaking it off as much as possible. And then we're going to check our oil over here. Now, if you're not sure, you take a little bit of this, and see how it foamed up with the flour? Like that. I'm going to do one more time so you can see. See how it foamed up? Then we're pretty good to go, okay? All right. Now, you pick your side that you want. This is the first side you put down is your presentation side. We're going to put this down, okay? So, if you don't hear it sizzle, you hear it sizzle? Yes? Then we're good to go. Lay it in there. Shake it around. Gently. All right. We're good. Let that go. All right, I'm going to turn it just a little bit. Shake it around. For those of you making salmon, you'd put the side down. That's your non-skin side. Get that going first, okay? Make sure it's not sticking, but you aren't ready to flip it yet, okay? All right. Any questions so far? So, the look. Let me smoke it. It should be, you want it to be golden on that side, golden. So I have gloves on so it doesn't like burn me, but see how we're getting a golden look on that side? Not ready yet, but I want you to see what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, getting it nice and golden. Around. All right, now I'm gonna be ready to flip. Now, tricky. A little golden little look to it there. Keep going. All right. Now for the people who are cooking at home, you can turn it down to like a medium low. You don't want to burn it, okay? And for those who are cooking salmon, if you flip it over and you're like happy with the color, then you can transfer your pan to the oven now for, I would say 5 to 7 minutes. Go ahead and put in 5 and check it, okay? And you have a thermometer, you can check that. We're gonna let that go for a little while. It's gonna take at least probably like a couple of minutes. Now, while that's cooking, you know, you don't really want to put in this particular recipe with the fish because once you put the sauce on it, it's going to be almost impossible to take the bones out of it. I'm sorry. So I try to get fish that's already filleted, no bones.
Can a pan like yours go in the oven?
Yes, a pan like mine can go in the oven. If it has a plastic handle, this doesn't have a plastic handle. It can go in the oven. Some handles are made to go in the oven, even if they have a coating on them. It depends on what kind of pan it is. This one like this can go in the oven. It's oven safe. So I'm going to just flip mine over to check one more time, see how we're doing. Oh, yeah, nice and golden. Good. I'm going to take a temperature on it. And the thickest part of it, you pick the temperature. And this is what temperature I have so far. It's rising. So we're at 135. We're good to go. So I'm going to take that off, and I'm just going to transfer it. Flip it over, my presentation side. Right there. And I'm going to turn this off for just a minute. Okay? We're going to let that sit aside for a little while because I'm going to make the beef, and then I'm going to toss the salad up, and then I'm going to show you how to plate that up really nice and pretty for a plate. Okay? So now we're going to work with the beef. Now, I have down here, I have 2 pieces of beef, like steak or beef skirt steak that I have cut, but I haven't prepared yet. You can take, let's say, half of your marinade if you want, and you can put it in the Ziploc when you're ready to do this on your own at home, and leave it in the Ziploc. But I tend to put it in another little bowl like this because once you see that I put the skewers in here, it may poke a hole through here, and you don't want that all over your refrigerator. Okay, so I have 2 in here that are ready to go, but I'm going to first show you how I got to this point. Okay, I have my meat. I have 2 skewers, which I pre-soak in water so that if you're, normally I would like to grill this, but I'm inside, so I can't show you that. I'm going to show you how to sear them. You soak them in water for at least like 20 minutes before you're actually going to use them. This way, when you grill it, they don't catch like on super fire, okay? So I have them soaking in water already. I have the meat. And I'm gonna take them out of my Ziploc bag. At this point, I'm not gonna be cutting anything else on the cutting board, so we're good, all right? So I'm taking these out of here. I'm not gonna get rid of this because I'm gonna need this for my pounding. I have my scissors here, and I will cut the sides here. Trick I use. Cut it open, basically like that. And I'm going to use this to shield it while I'm pounding because you don't want to have all the juices going everywhere in your kitchen. Less cleanup. So I use that to pound. I do the same thing when I do chicken paillard. All right. Well, that's another whole story. All right. So we have our steak. I like to pound mine a little bit to make it. I like to pound a little bit to make it a little more tender and flattened out for the cooking purposes.
Volume warning.
Volume warning. Oh, yeah, volume warning. Sorry, it's gonna get a little loud, so I'm gonna pound it. That's good. Flat. It's gonna help me make. You can almost get 2 pieces out of that, but we're gonna use 1 for now. Here's another one. Pounding. Good. More on this side. More evenly, and there we go. Have that, and it's going to cook flat. Especially since I'm searing it, I want to make sure I get it pretty flat. So I'm going to take that. They're pretty wide. I probably could make 2 out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this right down the middle. Now, some people, they marinate their beef before they put it on the skewer. If I'm going to deal with the meat once, I'm going to go ahead and just get it all over with, and I go ahead and put my skewers in there. That's just me. That's how I like to do it, and then I just soak it with a skewer. So I have my skewer. I'm only going to do 2 of these because I only soak 2 of these. So I'm going to go in and out with your fingers, in and out 2 times, and then I string it along. Okay? You got a piece hanging there. You can always do that. But I wanted to have it pretty flat because I'm going to try to sear it. Okay? On the beef. So that's there. Let's do another one. That. Take it in there. You're just like sewing. You go in. Out. And string it along. All right. Now, once I get to this situation, I'm going to just put these aside because I'm going to show you the same marinade that I'm going to take the other ones and I'm going to reuse the marinade. Okay. So let's pretend that I marinated them in this same bag and I'm taking them out now. All right. Let's put this back. I'm going to put the ones I just did, I'm going to use in the same marinade because they're going to get cooked. All right. So let's take these out. These are already on skewers. They've been marinating for, I'd say, a couple hours. So I would say if you were in a pinch, you want to at least marinate them an hour. Okay. But if you're going to go to the trouble of doing the marinade, I would say you need to at least, marinate them at least 2 to 3 hours. Okay. They smell beautiful. The colors change because it's already starting to tenderize. What I do in that is that I take the marinade and I scrape a little bit of it off. Can you see it? Just a little bit of off because I want to make sure I'm going to get a good sear. So, and the flavor, we're going to put some at the very end. So I scrape some of it off and in hopes I can get a good sear on this. Okay. That. I'm going to get my paper towel. Let's do some drying. All right. Now I have my pan on over here. I'm going to put it on medium high. I put my oil. Remember, 1, 2, 1, 2, and my paper towel. And I'm going to dry off this just a little bit this way over here. So I'm going to dry those off just a little bit, just enough to get this helps get a nice good sear on it. Okay. Now, some people are like, well, when do you put soy season in it? Like I would at the, a steak or something. Because the fish sauce and stuff has so much flavoring in it, you almost want to wait till the end and taste it because you can always add salt and pepper even on the plate. But once you put too much, with depending on how much you've marinated it, you don't want to get it over salty where you're like, oh my gosh, I went too far. You can always add, you can't take away. Okay, so now we've dried them off pretty good. And now we're going to check our oil. So, is our oil quivering? It's starting to quiver. Shake. That's going. It's quivering a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes I take just a little piece of the meat off the end of the thing, and I give it a little. Can you hear that? The sizzle test. So that means we're ready to go. Shake this one time so it doesn't stick, and we're gonna put that in there. Press down. Same thing with this one. Put the oil around. There, it smells so good. Okay. Now, I've been dealing with fish and meat, so as soon as I'm done with this meat, I'm going to be changing gloves because I'm going to go back to touching fresh food that's not going to be cooked, okay? So I just want to make sure that you get washing your hands in between touching the meats and stuff, okay? That's going really good. You want to keep it on a pretty good high temperature so we get a nice sear. You can also grill these. So if you have your grill and you're doing a lot of your outdoor cooking, you want to make sure, check them a little bit, sticking a little bit of oil. Yeah, we're searing them, so let's see. Oh, yeah. So if you plan to grill and it starts to rain, you're like, what do I do now? Well, you have them seared. Now I'm going to lower it. Once I got that side seared, put it to medium. The same thing with these. You can finish them off in the oven if you think that you're going to burn them or something. You can finish them off in the oven, okay? So it smells so good. You get the smoke coming off of them, okay? All right. Yummy. Good. Nice to sear on them. And the reason I soak this, like I said, to soak the bamboo or the skewers is if you're going to grill outside. If you've ever grilled and all of a sudden all your skewers are falling apart. Yeah, you know, it's they burnt too fast. It's really good. No searing. Now, some people like their beef a little rare. Some people like it more on the cooked side. I would say if you're taking a temperature on these on the thick end, you know, you at least want it to be like 130, 135. So it depends. This one's a little thinner, so I'm pretty sure it's going to heat more. I'm going to actually eat these probably for dinner, so I'm not going to cook them all the way so I can rewarm them. So I'm going to go ahead and take them off because I'm not ready for dinner yet. So I'm going to take them off and transfer them here. Yeah, turn that off. And because it has soy and sauce, your pan will get like this because it has some sugar in that marinade, which will tend to caramelize. Just soak your pan after it cools. If you try to do it right now, you will warp your pan and you're going to hate me for it. Okay? All right. So coming back to me now, I'm going to change gloves because now I'm going to be working back with food that's not going to be cooked. So now we made that dressing or marinade or whatever you want to call it, sauce, because you can use it for so many different things. You don't want to put all of it in this dressing because unless you like a really soggy salad. I like to make that amount because I like to use the top of it for marinades and other things to accompany this recipe. Okay, so we're going to take our noodles, which we'll cover with a paper towel, keep them moist. Keep this here. Take that. We're going to take our vegetables. We've already chopped up and shredded and everything else, and they're going to go into here. All of it. Okay. If you want to make some of it for tomorrow, you can half it. You have to put all of it. So that's all in there. Got cucumbers, radishes, chiffonade. This is Savoy cabbage. All good. Then we're going to take our cashews or peanuts, whichever, or it's optional. You don't have to add these to it, but it does add a little crunch to it. It's good. Add those in there. And then we're going to take our dressing. Stir it around. Gonna add, let's say half of it. Half. You may want more. Depends. Okay. Gonna take that. Then my tongs. Gonna toss it around.
Please remind us how we can see the recording.
Yes. If you are wanting to see the last part, which again, sometimes I like you for just to watch so that you can learn some of the tips, you would go to the Ruth Keeler Memorial Library website, and then up in the corner, it has the Facebook and I believe YouTube or And then you click on, I know for sure on the Facebook, and then it'll take you right to the links of the videos of all the classes are offered, and you'll see the culinary literacy ones, and there'll be all the classes there that I think all but 2 because we forgot to record, something happened technically on the first couple of classes. So there you have it. I like to really do this with my hands, but I didn't want to kind of go like, what is she doing? But if you want to get your hands and toss it up, you can. If you want more dressing than that, I tried to put too much at the beginning because I like to pour some at the end. Okay, so we have our salad. If you want to put less noodles on yours, you can. I'm going to show you where we take the salad. Here. So you can take some of the green to the top of that. Let's do another one over here for the some more of a balance of there. So take that. And then it's here. I'm going to take our fish. And I'm going to slide it right over here to the front of that. And you see how pretty that looks? Nice summer dish. And then I like to pour a little bit right on the top like you were going to actually have a salad with some dressing. Just like that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Love it. So fresh, nice summer. And then let me see my tongs. Right here, my tongs. Add the skewers and the beef. This. Same thing. Add a little here. Here. Look at that. Yummy. Oh. All right. Now remember this same mix that we're using for the sauce up here. Same mix. You can put that in the Ziploc for your beef, okay? I don't suggest doing it with your fish because the lime sauce the lime juice in here is so intense, it will actually cook your fish like a ceviche before you actually saute it. So only put that on top of your fish after it's cooked. But you can actually, with the beef, because it's so, tough or whatever, it will not do that to the beef. It'll actually help marinate and break down the protein a little bit. So that's what's good about this. You can use it for just marinades as well. All right, you can do that with pork chop, pork loin, or anything like that. So I hope you enjoy these 2 dishes. This salad is really good. You're going to be really surprised at the flavor profile this has. It's really good. Okay. If you don't like rice noodles and you want to make the fish with rice and put the sauce over the rice and the fish, it works really well too. So does anybody have any questions? All right. I hope you learned some things. You got some really good tips, some shortcuts.
If you use swordfish, would it need to go in the oven too?
Yes, because it's thick and you want to be careful because sometimes swordfish do tend to have, they're kind of like hookworms, but they're particular fish worms, they call them. They're not bad, but if you don't cook your swordfish enough, it can make you sick. I'm going to tell you the truth. So you'll hardly ever see swordfish. It does get served in sushi, but it's very tricky. So I would say if you're going to do the swordfish, you're definitely going to put it in the oven, and you want to finish it off at least until 145 degrees, okay? Just to be safe. All right. If you have any other questions, you can also always email me at chefrizzo.com, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. To stay tuned for next week, we're going to be doing Indian coconut curry for next week. My email again is chefrizzo@hotmail.com. All right. Thank you to the Ruth Memorial Library, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.